Central Party directives, especially in the early years. I've never seen or even heard of a Communist Party directive saying kill Falun Gong for their organs. Yet the Communist Party obviously knows about it. I mean, nothing happens at this scale throughout the system involving the military and the prison guards without central headquarters knowing about it. And my own view is it's a combination of the banning of the Falun Gong, the kind of propaganda that goes with it, the depersonalization, the need for money, big money to be made, this kind of inhumanity that spreads, the kind of the acceptance of taking organs from prisoners. I mean, one of the things that I found kind of surprising when we had callers calling into hospitals, that the hospitals sometimes, we'd have our callers ask, do you have organs of Falun Gong practitioners for sale? Sometimes our callers would be directed to the prison for the answer to that question. And we'd actually get yes or no from the prison, because the prisons had become organ distribution systems for the hospitals, because that's where the organs came from. And so the system was just kind of geared up to take organs from other prisoners. So I would say, yes? Well, there's no doubt that the prisons are making monies out of that, because, I mean, one of the people, I talked about it in the book, that this fellow Lanny, he wasn't a Falun Gong practitioner, he was a guy in prison, and he saw people, he was talking to the guards, kind of a garrulous guy, and he could see people who were both Falun Gong practitioners and prisoners sentenced to death that were being picked up by the hospitals. And the guards were saying, yeah, I mean, they were making money out of it. The money sort of goes throughout the whole system. The hospitals, doesn't just go to the bank account of the hospitals. The doctors get paid an awful lot of money. And this was something Annie's husband, or Annie was saying about her husband. He was getting a lot of money. And Lani was saying that the guards were getting a lot of money. So the money just sort of goes throughout the system. So it becomes a financial incentive. I mean, I've heard the same thing about the Holocaust, that, Rudolf Verba, who was a fugitive from Auschwitz, who ended up speaking about the Holocaust throughout the rest of his life, and he became a Canadian permanent resident. He said that the motive of the Holocaust was theft, and that the Nazis were killing Jews to steal their estates and steal their money. And, well, I mean, I don't think it was just that. I mean, there was obviously a lot more going on than that. And there's a lot more going on with the killing of Falun Gong and their organs, then there's a lot of money to be made. I mean, if you didn't get this kind of banning and propaganda and depersonalization, none of this would happen. But and of course, different people act out of different motives. I mean, some people really believe that Falun Gong is awful, and figure they're doing the Communist Party's work by victimizing the Falun Gong. But for other people, it's just a way to make a buck. My experience is that governments never act out of only one motive, and very often people never sometimes act out of many motives. So I think it's a combination of these.
Dr. Yuan wants to answer this question.
他用法轮功学员器官呢，从我的理解，他主要有两个方面原因呢。一个是因为他练法轮功之后，人都知道练法轮功的身体好，然后之后成活率就比较高。这样就是在单位调查报告里边，我们就是那个有的调查员打电话的时候，好多是问那个是有没有法轮功这个器官呢？那么那个被回答那个医生呢都说有，这器官这个身体都是不错的那种。
There is a two issue that I understand that's the reason that they're taking Falun Gong, because once practitioner practice Falun Gong, they're quite healthy, their organs quite good, so they were well known. So and I actually involved in the investigation, making telephone call, and some people even ask, well, can I get the Falun Gong organs? They say, yes, you can. So it's a high quality one. That's one issue.
第二个呢，因为那个法轮功学员有很多呢，他是在外边流浪的。因为如果在家里边练的话呢，被当地这个警察发现之后呢，就会迫使他停止练。那个政府呢也会给他的亲戚朋友甚至同事啊施加压力，就让他停止练。那有的人呢，为了就是躲开这些压力呢，他就出去了。出去之后呢，他在有的时候身上他是不带身份证的，因为只要是被警察抓住之后呢，知道他是哪的人呢，就会给他送回来。所以有很多人他身上他是不带身份证的。那么这种人被抓住之后呢，就是说警察也不知道他是哪儿的，然后他丢了之后呢，他家里也不知道哪去了。所以这种人流失之后呢，就是说你找不着他这人哪去了。所以这种情况下也是主要的一个方面。
Also, there is lots of Falun Gong practitioners in China that they cannot live in a home, cannot live in relatives' home, because once they stay there, and they will be arrested. So they have to run around and live with their friends or like this. Sometimes they don't carry personal IDs, but lots of them being arrested because they would still be very distinguishedly different from other people. So once they do something according to Falun Gong, they will be arrested. And so if they disappeared, they're arrested and that organ being taken and nobody will chase, they found it out. So that's also another reason.
Thank you. I just wanted to, first of all, congratulate both David and Dr. Yuan for being brave enough and spending their time as they are. I think it's great to see people with that much commitment, and also the interpreter. Thank you for tonight. David, in your research, you've had fairly rigorous details of numbers of organ transplants that have happened from time to time in China, and you've also mentioned that you think that more of those are now going to be going to Chinese nationals rather than to the transplant tourists. Do you have any data to suggest that the numbers of transplants in China to Chinese nationals are actually increasing when those people no doubt can't pay $150,000 for a lung?
It's one of the things I've been trying to figure out actually is how they could, like the money flow. We used to see price lists, and they're gone. And we used to see hospitals kind of touting how much money they were making from organs. I mean, it was sort of part of touting the product, but that's gone as well. I was trying to, like the Chinese, I've got all these Chinese transplant laws translated, and I'm trying to figure out, and there's a bunch of them, and I'm trying to figure out from reading through them whether there's any control of pricing just by reading through the laws, and I haven't been able to identify anything there that actually controls the pricing, although I suspect there's something somewhere in the system that controls how much people are charged for transplants. Now, I mean, China is a country now, because it's capitalist, where there's many rich people as well as many poor people. And what you've got is transplants at 10,000 a year, and according to what the Chinese material says, 2 million people who need transplant. So of those 2 million people, there's going to be some who can afford to pay a big dollar for the transplants. And I suspect within China, the people who are getting the transplants are the ones who can afford to pay the price. Now, whether the price that's being paid is the same as what they were charging foreigners before the shift, I don't know that. I would just be speculating here, but my speculation is that they're still charging an awful lot, and that there are many Chinese that are able and willing to pay it. But that's just speculation on my part.
My name's Nick Folkes. I think China needs a Tea Party movement. But with Tiananmen Square, do you think it's possible that the Chinese people come to the realisation that it needs to happen again? Because, you know, you said there's 60 million CCP members, but that's gone down drastically, and there's 1.3 billion Chinese. They're vastly outnumbered. I think they could have them. Yeah. Do you think that it's possible in the near future that the Chinese people challenge the totalitarian authority?
When it comes to predicting the future,